So today's video is really meant to hit hard on the fact that the whole growth scaling or one size fits all sales funnel just doesn't work anymore. And I know I have talked with you guys before about content marketing and having a content funnel, and I will dumb that down into just 3 basic steps. But I think it's important to address some recent research that Google put out, and it's called the 7-4-11 rule. And what this means is that based on their research, before making a purchase, the average consumer spends 7 hours researching. They will interact with a brand 11 different times, and they do this across 4 different platforms. So again, it's the 7-4-11 rule. And sometimes those 7 hours of research, guys, is not always all at one time and even over just 1 week or a weekend. I think a lot of times we assume that all of that research would be close together. In fact, if you look at, and I'll share my screen, there is a difference between when you're looking at your buyer's journey and then your sales process. A lot of times when I'm doing strategy calls with some of you, we get so fixated on what we want, like what the end game or goal is for you, that we forget about putting ourselves in the seat of our customers and meeting them where they're at. And something that I've learned from Bill Jones, so a lot of you guys know that I'm a certified guide and get to work pretty closely with him, is that the best advisors are actually the ones that give the least amount of advice. If you start timing your sales calls or just even recording them, which I highly recommend that you do, how much time are you spending talking? If you're using more words than they are, that should be a red flag, because the best advisors are the ones that get the consumer to answer the questions, strategic questions, where they self-discover the answers just based off what you're asking and you're uncovering with them, which is why we have to focus on meeting people where they're at. And that means that sometimes the content we're creating on social, we may need to recognize that it's very early in their journey. Like the 7 hours of research may start from 2 years ago. So we often will create messages and it's click here to apply or click on my link in bio to schedule a consultation. And it's like, whoa, we've got to back that way up and understand that there's segments to interest from when people start to have these dreams and goals. And so going back to this post that I had made, you can see from a buyer's journey, they go from being unconcerned to investigating or researching. In the sales process, that's when they're starting to prospect. Then they're defining, selecting, negotiating, and then they finally start implementing. Another way to look at this is, I kind of like this diagram a little bit better, although I know there's a lot of words. So if you look at the all the way to the left, people are either problem unaware or problem aware. They can also either be solution aware or product aware. And then if they're already at this stage, which means they're further along in the buying journey, they know, they're aware of their problem and they know what the solution is. Now it's time to take action because they want the home, but they can't buy the home in cash. We all know that nobody wants to talk to a lender. Nobody wants a mortgage. They want the home. And so they have to go through you to get the home. So this is the path of least resistance that I feel like a lot of times when I'm listening to the videos that are being created in the reels, we assume people are always here, but we're not, in my opinion, doing a great enough job of, let's look at top of funnel for when people are either problem unaware or problem aware. This is where our daily content of scratching that itch, having messages of, are you tired of going up and down the stairs to your apartment? Are you tired of not being able to have pets in your rental, or making it where it's empathetic and relatable? Are you tired of spending your 20s renting when homeownership is the fastest way to build wealth? Like, we're scratching that itch. And even if it's something that they weren't necessarily aware of, we're now planting that seed. So this takes a long time to nurture them. And most people just don't have a strategy at how to nurture people. So when we talked about, this is the 3-step process of a watered down, dead version of when we're creating content. And if we had to simplify the content funnel, I'm trying to think of a creative acronym for this, but I don't have it yet. I wrote down we're creating content, and the type of content will depend. Are we trying to attract more engagement with followers who are already following us? Are we trying to get more reach and go after non-followers? But essentially you have content to emails to then your community. So the content gets to email by having micro bridges or micro steps, whether it's using ManyChat for DM automation with things like comment below home for a free home buying assessment. Assessments work really well. Maybe it's comment the word home value to get on our HomeBot list. So it's anytime you see people using words, that's through DM automation, and it's very easy to set up with ManyChat. Or it's getting people to a webinar by directing them maybe to the link in your bio where they can attend your next first-time homebuyer class. But you've got to create those micro bridges for those who are like really early in the research phase and they're somewhat becoming aware of the problem, but they're not quite sure if the solution is to buy a home or to rent for another year. Like there's some gray area there. So this is what I mean with the type of content we are creating. Do we understand, one, that we're trying to get them to our email list? Because make no mistake, your social media is just rented attention. We've got to get them to a CRM, but it doesn't stop there. The CRM then needs to be segmented, and maybe that's what I'll have next week's video be about, is how do we then segment the database where we have a true strategy that's not just one email that goes out to everybody. It's meeting people with where they're at based off their needs, values, and where they are in the buyer journey. So the 3-step process is content to email to then your client or community, where you're either generating leads or you're nurturing leads. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen just to finish going through this example. So you guys can read through the rest of this of once they become solution aware and product aware. This is where you go from top of funnel down to bottom of funnel, and where the content to lead magnet to email to app. This is how this process works. This is your growth content, authority, and then sales content. Let's go back to here. Now, this was probably creepy of me, but I was in the sauna at the gym and I just so happened to look over and there was a woman on Instagram. And I know I talk about this all the time, but I feel like I need to maybe prove this because y'all could think that maybe I'm just making it up. And so I started to record from a distance like this, like a creeper of her screen. So I will have it playing here. Let me see if I can actually connect right now. Share. Okay, so she is scrolling and she read the caption. Then she clicked on the person's name. You can see the profile. She hasn't hit the follow button, guys. Do you see what she did? And this is what most people do. They stopped at the post. They're reading the caption, kind of seeing, okay, is this legit? They then click on the person's profile to see, is it worth even to continue reading? She went back to the profile and she never hit follow. Looks like now she's scrolling more. Okay. So it was so stalker-ish of me, wasn't it? But a lot of times we think our social media is not working. And I've told y'all time and time again that one, your profile is a conversion, like king and queen of conversion, because if they see something that they're interested in, that you are either posting for authority or credibility or maybe relatability, if they like what they see enough to then go to your profile, but your profile isn't optimized. And I just made another post of how to self-audit whether or not your profile is a good first impression. Where should they follow you? And most people don't hit follow anymore because they know they can go to their Explore feed, and their Explore feed does a pretty darn good job of showing them exactly what they would want, where they don't even go to the follow feed anymore. They go straight to the Explore feed, which then also then means we need to be aware of the type of content that we're creating. If we're trying to get more Explore feed views, well, there's no trust with those people. And anytime, like if you're solely doing reels, you're most likely not going to have a lot of engagement because we typically get more comments or likes from those who are already following us. They're already fans. They're believers in us and part of our tribe. So sometimes when I see reels, I'm like, you guys are presenting yourselves as if people already know you, when this could be going out and building the awareness. Like it's very top of the funnel. This is what I'm trying to explain here. It's like they watch you because of a catchy hook or maybe good content, but then are they engaging with you? And if they're engaging with you and you're not engaging back, that's a problem, like a big problem. Just because people watch your content, which you could have done a bait and switch type hook, or you could have done a very trendy, funny meme. If that bait and switch thing got them to your profile and the rest of your content on your profile doesn't align with what they just saw, they likely are going to drop off and not engage with you. That's why it's important, whatever bait you're using to attract non-followers or to gain more reach and visibility, it needs to align with what the purpose is of your content. And then if they start to engage with you, and that could be continuously, like maybe they're watching your stories often, they're commenting and liking them, maybe they hit follow. This is why I have on our daily battle sheets that if someone clicks follow, guys, that's an interest signal. You should be reaching out to them and introducing yourself. That's like someone saying, hey, I may like you, or the old days of what is it, swipe left or right? I don't even know which one it is. But it's like teasing in middle school when someone's trying to flirt with you. And it's a lot of you just ignore these people and you wonder why they don't ever buy or engage further. So really consider this funnel and understanding that this whole growth scale hacking of just creating more, it doesn't matter if you create more if it's not the right kind of more. Like views doesn't mean buyers. Views doesn't mean revenue. It's getting the right views and maximizing each opportunity that's backed by a system and a process to get them from platform to email list that then has a nurturing sequence. If you don't have a nurturing sequence that is very customized based off where they're at from the signals that they've given, then you're likely losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And your social media could be working a lot more for you. In fact, if those of you who may be wondering why it's not working more, it could be this very reason, is you don't have lead magnets for people to give you an email address, or you're not hosting classes and promoting them for them to RSVP, or you may be doing those things, but then you do a one-size-fits-all blast email that makes people feel like they're not uniquely seen and heard because they get what everybody gets. So let's inspect the messages that are going out from our brand, because remember, we don't own the perception of our brand. We're creating thousands of brands and images of ourselves every day because the brand is left in the perception of whoever sees you or sees your logo or how you make them feel, and it's up to their interpretation. So just because one person says one thing about you doesn't mean that the same person who maybe went through the same experience would say the same thing. So they have two different narratives of your brand. That is it for today. If you guys have questions, reach out. You know the drill. And until next time, I guess I'll say go Eagles. Can't believe I'm admitting that. Go Eagles.